Welcome back to another roundtable discussion with Boss Women Network. I'm your host, Leilani. Today's topic is about something many of us have witnessed but don't always talk about out loud. Pretty on the outside, poison on the inside. Basically, when energy doesn't match integrity. This conversation is about identifying real versus fake support, protecting your energy, and staying true to yourself in spaces that might look polished but don't feel right on the inside. And in my experience, I've always been the one bringing the most to the table, pouring into others, creating a space for women to grow, connect in business, sharing free resources with the goal of building a real sisterhood, a space where we can talk openly about business, wins, personal struggles, and a place where we can openly check each other when we're wrong. But the truth is, it wasn't always a safe place for me to do the same. I've seen what it looks like when the energy doesn't match the words. Women smiling, but moving with hidden motives or offering surface level support. I've learned being too nice gets taken for granted or taken for weakness, and it's very difficult for me to be any other way. So I created the Boss Women Network for this exact reason, not for appearances, but for real alignment, real integrity, and for real women who aren't afraid to stand on that. So I'm honored to have these incredible women here today to speak on this topic and share their experiences. So let's jump in, everyone. Introduce yourselves, state your name, your business, where you're from, and how this topic relates to you. Who would like to go first? I guess we can start with Dr. Hume, since she's first.
I feel like when I'm in my class and I call on my students, nobody wants to go first. Anyway, good day, everybody. So my name is Dr. Hume Johnson. I am a brand-centered leadership coach and a tenured professor of communication at Roger Williams University. In my early career, I was a broadcast journalist with Jamaica's Information Service and a political speechwriter with the government of Jamaica. So I have gathered all my experience, all my skills in political communication and working alongside leaders to really help mid-career professionals now to unlock their personal brand and to stand out as experts and leaders in their own niche. And I have transitioned from Jamaica to New Zealand. I was a PhD candidate for 5 years in New Zealand. And then I was a professor of journalism in Australia before I moved to the United States. And so I've had quite a bit of transition. And as I transition both physically and emotionally and geographically, my relationships have changed alongside that. And they say success is isolating and it's lonely. It doesn't have to be, but unfortunately, sometimes you do lose those connections. And I guess that's what we're here to talk about.
Yeah.
I'll just leave it there for now.
Okay. I guess, Stephanie, I guess we can go in the order that.
Wonderful. Okay. My name is Dr. Stephanie Bennett, and I am a transpersonal psychologist, an author, a speaker, a poet, and an energy medicine practitioner. I have done my PhD work in complex trauma, and my study was on mothers who have lost their children to parental alienation. And I did that study because I had lived through that experience and I wanted to turn around and help other people who have been through that experience. And I was the first person to do research in that area. The way that I did my study was it was a small qualitative study with 9 participants. And we did intensive interviews. Then there was a healing component where each participant was paired with an energy worker. And then post study was what are the results of that? And remarkably, most of the mothers had been somehow reconnected with their child. So it was a really transformative experience for me. Unfortunately, I have not experienced that beauty in my life yet, but there's always hope. And what occurred from that experience was I lived through an experience with a narcissist. And so it launched me by forced initiation into studying narcissism. So I have just recently published a book called The Soul's Return, The Spiritual Anatomy of Narcissistic Abuse and Healing Guide to Reclaiming Inner Freedom. And the thing that makes my work different is that I not only talk about the psychological components of narcissistic abuse, I speak to the spiritual components, and I offer a multitude of charts that correlate the two things. So we can't really heal from narcissistic abuse if we don't understand what's actually happening to us from a spiritual perspective. So what I'm seeing in that field is a lot of people are healing psychologically, but there's deeper work that's still not occurring. And so healing is somewhat adulterated. So that's what makes my work different. And during this launch of my new life into this work, I've had experiences exactly like what we're talking about here. You know, finding out who your real friends are once you start having some success in life, the shades of friendship shift and change. So I'm really excited to have this conversation.
Okay. Monica? So, hi everyone. My name is Monica Rowe. I am the CEO of Elevate Your Empire. I'm a multi-platform content creator, digital product strategist. I'm a mentor to visionary women who are ready to get clear on who they are, what they offer, and how they show up online, on and offline, actually. I do that through coaching, master classes, and content strategy. And I'm also an 18-year veteran of the financial services industry, being licensed. I'm excited about this conversation because I feel it's relevant to me because I work at the intersection of content, branding, and leadership. And a lot of time that comes with polished images, but there can also be misalignment behind the scenes, which can be a problem. So I'm deeply committed to being able to help women show up in their business and their life with clarity and integrity. But that means that we have to bring our energy and that realness first. So I'm really excited about this conversation because we're diving deeper under the aesthetics of especially, with AI coming out and all those sort of things. So I'm really excited about today's topic.
Mm-hmm.
All right. Okay. Is it Natrosha?
It's Natrosha.
Natrosha. Okay. Miss Natrosha Miller.
Yes. Hi, everyone. My name is, of course, again, Natrosha. I am a faith-led entrepreneur, also a founder of a community of women's in business, um, and the owner of a social media marketing company, which is Social Sis Media. Helping, I would say, purpose-driven, brands grow with clarity and impact since 2019. This topic resonate with me simple because I lived it, right? Over the past 10 years, I've seen the difference between real sisterhood and surface level support, right? From different perspectives. I've walked through the silent seasons. I've pretty much seen the secret competition and, of course, the fake connections, right? And I know the power of building with integrity and not just the image, right? So that's why I'm passionate. I'm very passionate about helping women's grow in purpose, in peace, and also in partnership on and off social media. But that's the importance of being truly rooted in God. So I'm excited to be here. And again, thank you so much for having me.
Thank you for joining us. Okay, Cecilia.
Hi, I hope y'all are having such a beautiful day. Much love. My name is Cecilia Satori, also known as Ocean Kaleido. I'm a DJ, artist, musician, and a community member that does a lot of activism out here in the state of Arizona and a few other states in the country. I'm very passionate about people in general. I like to use a little hashtag international love. And what I aspire to do is to bring love and color and dance and a rhythm to people through music in our community to teach them how to love each other. One thing that's important in my shows that I like to bring is to just let people know about the unity. And something that's very popular in our community is something called PLUR, which is peace, love, unity, and respect. And, you know, being in the music industry, you see a lot of different things and not enough integrity. And, you know, one thing I like to teach the women in our community, if I feel a little bit of tension there, is hey, we have to love ourselves. You know, the best way to put our first foot forward is to give ourselves that love, and so that we can learn to love each other as well. So it's been a wonderful journey, and I'm very thankful to be part of this today to speak to you, wonderful women, and just to explore what else we're doing on our parts of the world to help this world become a better place.
All right. Thank you for joining us.
Thank you.
All right, Ola.
Hi, everyone. I am Ola Gwa. I am, where do I start? A trained chemical engineer and turned entrepreneur. So I transitioned from the corporate world into entrepreneurship, dabbled in a lot of things, and found myself in the hospitality industry. So I manage a business, it's called Snooze Lane, a hospitality business here, vacation rentals in Houston. And a while back, I found myself surrounded by a lot of professionals because obviously that's how my graduated friends, like neighbors, everybody's like a doctor or an engineer or some sort. And I needed to expand my circle to get entrepreneur friends that could, peer advisory, coach members, mentors. And I didn't find that. I tried doing a lot of going to a lot of events, meetups, and some were hit, and but most were missed. So I flipped the script around last year, and this year I said I was going to start creating the events and community that I wanted, that I needed when I was starting. But I'm still, I'm still learning. And so this year I went on a crazy journey to do an event every month. And I think that's how I met Leilani.
She has
So
great events, by
this
the way.
year, thank you. So I've been creating this event. So what I noticed from all my research, reading books like Nick Gray and a lot of those books and a lot of the people that are in those rooms that where decisions are made. And everybody knows that most of the deals are made in the golf course. We know all these things, and it's so hard for someone like me to be in those rooms. So I'm trying to create that room, by attracting great high achievers like I am, and I want to be around. So that was the whole point of me creating all these events, and it's been snowballing. And I mean, we created an event called the Influence Summit, and Leilani was also there. You're such an amazing, amazing
That was a great
supporter, by
event.
the way. So that was one of the big. It started off from a golf course event to someone saying, "I like what you do," and then they gave me their space to create an influential event for women for International Women's Day and more events like that. And now I'm transitioning into I'm already helping like founders or creative create those great events. I'm now leaning into it because I thought it was just for me. It was started off as like a selfish thing that I wanted for myself. Turns out to be like, wow, actually a lot of people are yearning for this. So getting a lot of like calls and a lot of partnership to create more of these events and talk about it more. So while still running my big business, well, big for me, small business, um, 9 properties, lots of personnel, lots of while doing all that, being a mom and being a wife, still adding this. I call it crazy because it's a lot to do events, and I'm doing multiple of them. So that's where I'm at right now. And this topic resonates with me because basically that's what I was searching for, support, you know. So I'm I don't think I'm good at identifying surface level and deep level. I just take whatever I get. So I just want to just wanted to have this conversation. You know, I do have gotten a fair share of my disappointment from people, you know, but this is going to be my first time like diving deep into it, and I'm excited because I want to learn a lot and from all of you. Well, that's it.
Thank you for
Mhm.
joining us. All right, Dr. Flo.
Good morning from the future. It's Sunday morning in Tokyo,
Wow.
Japan. This room is dripping gold. I'm just so honored to be here. My name is Dr. Florence E. I'm a speaker, educator, and founder of Dr. Flo's Place, where we support women to thrive beyond surviving, and we support them to do that strategically. My background is in medical practice and cancer research. So I'm a physician and a cancer researcher. That's my background. And my journey has been shaped by surviving toxic life experiences myself, both personally and professionally. And then almost like everyone here, alchemizing them, transforming them into work that is powerful and that supports other women. I've been deeply and greatly supported by so many women in Japan, and I've dedicated the rest of my life to supporting women everywhere, anywhere, whoever God brings my way. And so I support women through teaching and through coaching and through conversations in spaces like this. And I'm just honored to be here. And I'll go off of what Miss Ola said. At my big age, I'm just starting to learn what surface level um, alliances and what true sisterhood looks like. And this is just so timely and much needed. I'm here to learn, and I'm also here to share the little that I've learned. And thank you, Miss Leilani, for having me on again. Thank you so
Thank you for
much.
joining again. All right, next, Mary. Hi,
Hi,
Mary.
everyone. Hello, hello. My name's Mary Love, and I'm also actually a researcher. I'm a scientist. My education background is in molecular biology and chemistry, but in the working world, I work in immunotherapy. So I manage development and manufacturing sciences and technology at a biotech here in New Jersey. But I also, which is why I'm here, I am also the founder of Spiritual Atlas. So on the other side of the energetic world and of things, at Spiritual Atlas, I teach yoga. I also do and teach guided meditations. I also do readings as well, and I'm also an author of two books. One of my books are right here, Borrowed Wings, which is my memoir, and so in my memoir, I do go into, of course, my journey from in childhood, and from that, I also talk about my journey in foster care and of abuse. And from because of all of this encompassingly, I do also advocate for foster kids. I work very closely with the New Jersey Child Protective Services. And through all of everything that I'm doing, I'm finding that I don't have as much as a support in terms of spiritual atlas. And I I would love to have more of a network connection of not just people, but of women and women of color like myself. And similar to what Cecilia said, there's so much, there's so much energy moving in the world right now, and there's so many stories and resonations that people have, and, really looking to build internally deep connections with other entrepreneurs and really help spread the love, spread the transparency, and, help each other get through the harder or darker times, but also be there when it's dark, but also be there when it's light. So I am super excited to be here and talk to you all about energy.
All right. Thank you for joining us. All right, so I guess we'll dive into the first question of the day. How do you spot surface level support versus true sisterhood? Does anybody want to take on that question? Okay, Cecilia.
Well, one thing that is very apparent, if you guys have noticed, is that I truly believe that our sensory system is a lot more expanded than we realize. So one thing is for sure that within our minds we have certain organs in there, certain parts of the brain, like the hippocampus and the pineal gland. And all of that attributes to what we're able to sense. It's kind of like a radio frequency. And so when you become more aligned with understanding how to listen to that intuition, or perhaps if you have a relationship with God, that is like your compass. It's your place to be able to find your true north. I feel like in certain situations where there might be a little bit of friction, it's really a feeling that you get. It could be little signals that someone gives you, or perhaps the words are not matching up with the actions. But me myself, as someone who is an empath, I tend to use that little radio signal, and it usually feels like something isn't right. So in those situations, if that happens, then that's when I start to ask questions. I don't put my first foot forward as a foot of judgment, because I believe that we shouldn't be judging people, but it's more like a foot of discernment, to discern your surroundings and to understand what it is that you're walking into, but still keeping that love inside your heart. Everyone's going through something. So, however you decide to move forward with that is up to you.
I like that. I'm an empath too, so I struggle with discernment because I may feel something, but then I also look at the fact that they could potentially be going through something, and then I'll give a person a chance, and then I always get burned because I'm just too nice and I just want to see everybody win and want to help, but then it seems people just really don't like really nice people for some reason. They don't
Right.
like that.
Exactly.
How do you sense, well, not sense, or I guess my question before we move forward is what is surface level and what is real? I guess I'm so in the dark.
I struggle with that.
Yeah. So can I chime in? So for me, being a founder of a sisterhood for over, again, almost 10 years, I've seen it, right? Ins and outs. So when it comes down to true sisterhood, it shows up consistently, right?
Mm,
So they not just in it when it's convenient, public or when it's trending, right? And I look at surface level support is when they clap for you publicly, but behind the scenes, they competing against you, right?
mm, mm,
So true sisterhood celebrates you, they correct you, they pray over you in silence. They cheer for you, even when the spotlight even is not even on them. It's not about them, and they still there for you. They rooting for you. So you have to pay attention to how people support you when you're not winning.
mm,
True sisterhood remains present when things are hard, not just when things are impressive or they get the benefits from that. So
mm.
that's how I look at it.
Thank you for that answer. I truly, truly did not know. Because I always thought that people support according to how they can. So if I can only give you a like, I kind of respect that. But I like that you made a difference. You said at the back they're competing against you. So that just because I always thought like, well, they don't have time. That doesn't mean it's surface they care. But if you're saying they're competing behind you now, that's different.
It's
So.
totally, absolutely. And it's good to watch for those signs, like you said,
Mm,
that surface level. It's like they 1 foot in, but with 1 foot out, right? It's like
mm.
they in, but they not really all the way in.
Ah,
They are really like really paying attention to your how you move, how you operate, right? In order to steal things from you, steal from your shine, so they can be able to become who you are. So the
Mm.
jealousy, the envy is all there. So it's just like you said, just best to really lean to that discernment, as she mentioned, and but also, like you said, is understanding the difference, number one, right? But also start looking for those signals, those signs. And it's there. It's definitely will let you know who's there really for you and who's not.
Mm.
Can I jump in here? I'm an academic, and so I like definitions. So I'm so glad somebody kind of clarified what were we actually talking about. And because I've done so much work over the years on the self and people who come to me about their personal brand, I'm not interested in their social media. We're really talking about yourself and who you are at your core. And as a result of that, it takes me this conversation. I was challenged by the title of it, as Leilani well know. I didn't see people as poison. I thought those words were extreme.
Mm.
And but I understood the context of it. I just didn't like the language. But there are a couple of theories that the psychologist in the room is probably a little bit more aware of this than I am, that come up in my work, where there's a social comparison theory where people tend to measure their own worth on the basis of what you are doing, not what they are doing. So they're comparing themselves with other people. And so if their colleague or their friend is rising professionally or personally and achieving something they're not achieving, it creates this kind of internal conflict and they don't know what to do with it. And so they tend to withdraw from you. I also came across cognitive dissonance where if someone believes that they are on par with you or they were ahead of you, and then suddenly you are surpassing them, then they feel great discomfort. So your work isn't inspiring to them, it's threatening. So I personally encountered my best friend when we were in our 20s. She was starting to get ahead. She had won a scholarship to the United States, and I felt left behind. And I remember I said it to her. I said, "Oh my God, I feel so left behind." And she said, "Why don't you try to get some of these things?" I had a great job. I was on the TV every evening. But after a while, I thought, how much news can you really read? I needed to do something else with my life. And I started to kind of do some of the stuff that she was doing, kind of sending out feelers. Of course, the United States did not answer me. The people who answered me so happened to be at the other end of the world in New Zealand. So now we're 27 years into our friendship. And I think it was because at each moment, we were always trying to see how we can inspire each other. Oh, what are you doing over there? Not to compete with you, but to say, how did you do that? Can I do that as well? And if you're open to that, but then I've had other colleagues in media when I went off to do a PhD and suddenly I was a doctor and professor, and people are caught up with titles. It's amazing how credentials become this marker of success. For me, it's not. But for them, the look of it is so elevated. It's so up there. And if you're measuring yourself by that, then you are going to feel small. And I've sensed that kind of quiet detachment that you guys kind of referred to earlier, that kind of distancing. And sometimes it's really not about us. It's really how they're seeing themselves in that moment. And they don't know how to adjust to the changes that are taking place in our lives. And rather than focus in, get to work, do your thing, focus on your thing, you're busy looking out at the side of your eye. And just quickly, I'll say that for the event lady, Ola, I had hired an event planner back in the day. Now, she had approached me to plan my events and thought I had something that could be of great value to people. And I never thought of really an event kind of thing before. I was more thinking individual. And she had a great idea. And in the middle of it, you're planning my event. And at the same time, you're saying, why is this person signing up? She doesn't need your service. And that was more overt. It wasn't hidden, it was quite overt. And she did not attend my event. The event planner did not show
Wow.
up to my event. I literally had to call a friend of mine who traveled from Florida to Rhode Island last minute to help me to coordinate my event because I could not do it alone. She found some excuse. She said something came up. I did not believe it because I had sensed that there was this, your intuition for those energy folks. Thank you for what you do because it's real. Professional jealousy is real, and many of us only see it when it's overt. We often don't see it when it's subtle,
Right.
and if we are not in tune to our energy and energies in the room, sometimes we miss it altogether. I don't want to dominate the conversation, so I'll just stop here.
I'll pick up on couple of your points. The first one is that we're told that there are 5 senses. Well, there's actually 12. And one of the senses is the sense of the word, which just means that when we hear something, we know energetically if it's true or not. The other sense is the sense of warmth. And that sense is all about when someone is appearing warm, but we can feel it's cold, it's calculated, it's undercutting, it's not kind, it's self-serving. We all know these things energetically because these are part of our sensories. So I think it's really important for us to keep in mind that the body knows before our mind does. So it's a matter of paying attention and having discernment, and then also being willing to admit that you can trust your experience. We're all so accustomed as empaths to give people the benefit of the doubt, a second chance, a fifth chance, we need to make sure that we have that white picket fence of boundaries. Our boundaries can be beautiful, but we need to be masters of them and maintain them, for ourselves. My other point here is that I just lived through an experience of losing my best friend when I went through a profound, professional accolade and a real big step up for me in my career. And it turned out that she told me that she didn't feel like she had the worth to stand next to me. And the long story, but I lost the friendship because of her own insecurities. And now that's my perspective. The point of it is that when we are on soul mission, I'm following my soul mission, she's following her soul mission, there's absolutely no room for competition. We're here to support each other, master and answer our calling. That's what it's about. And the people who are prone to one of the 7 deadly sins, jealousy is part of that. They're not on soul mission. They're somehow not in alignment with themselves. And our best answer to that is to stay on mission, because maybe at some point we will end up inspiring them to come back to themselves. So it really becomes about answering our own self and our own calling and holding that line for ourselves. And even though it looks on the outside like we've lost something beautiful, like a friend or a beautiful relationship or whatever, the bigger point is that we stay on mission.
Yeah,
So
I love that. Anybody else have something to say on that topic?
Yeah, I'd like to quickly, from a mother's perspective, I taught my kids early on because of the environment, Black kids growing up in Japan, basically. I taught my kids the difference between nice and good, because this is a very performative society. There's the face you show outside, and there's the face you show on the inside. It's the way things are here. And so nice is, like everyone has said, it's an act. It's usually self-serving, to be liked, to get ahead, to be in favor with you, especially if I may use Stephanie's words, when you are on soul mission. People who are probably not that aligned can see that and know that you are going somewhere. And so they want an early buy-in. They want to be on the team before you become whoever, or, you're on your way to being. And so one way that I'm just learning this. One way I've recently recognized this is that they would publicly support, publicly volunteer. They raise their hand. They talk so much about helping, but when it comes to actually doing the thing to help, they have an excuse.
Yep.
They don't show up,
Mhm.
or they do it, and this actually happened. They do it with subtle sabotage. They do it in a way that it will not work.
Yes.
They've done it, but it's not
Mhm.
going to work, and it hurts. And I'm so appreciative of the fact that this conversation is not about bashing women. I see us all speaking and holding space and understanding where these people are coming from, and also bringing in the point that we need to protect ourselves. We have
Yes.
businesses, we're wives, we're mothers, we're caregivers. And so to shine, for our light to truly shine, we need to have these sorts of conversations. And so the difference between being nice, good it's just who they are. Being good, there's no one there. They've nothing to gain. They're not asking for anything in return. They just show up. You need someone there, you need something, they show up. And then a big thing for me, that was already mentioned, is how they show up when you have a win, how they react when it may even be something you've both been praying about. Like they've been with you, hoping for it and praying, and then it happens. And the first reaction is instant criticism. You probably shouldn't have done this, or how about you do? And I'm like, where's the thank God? Where's the congratulations? Like, we've been working through this for a decade. And that's something you cannot fake. Being happy, genuinely happy for another person. You either are or you aren't.
Yeah.
And for me, that's a huge red flag, green flag, whichever way, you look at it. How do they react when things go well for me? Because living out here as an African woman, always usually the only person in many ways in the room, when I was struggling, it was easy for people to support me. But as I evolved and as things got easier, people would just flip. It was like, as long as you're down there, we're good. But the minute you start owning your power,
Yep.
the minute you start finding your voice, the minute recovery, the minute you start thriving, I'm all about women thriving and thriving with ease. It becomes a problem, You probably shouldn't do that, and you probably should. And for me, these are the ways I'm learning what surface level support looks like, and what authentic sisterhood looks like. And it's precious. True sisterhood is rare. It's precious.
Yeah.
And it's long lasting. It's long lasting.
Yeah.
So thank you. Thank you for the opportunity.
I just want to quickly jump in and just say one last thing. When this came up, it actually reminded me of someone that I did sort of consider a friend, that I thought was uh that she had a sisterhood with a lot of women, and she always would, bring them all together. And I think it was like 50 women almost, actually. And I actually, the initial feeling, as we all know, energy wise, initially I was like, she's very surface level, and there's not um, maybe it's just today. Maybe, it is what it is. So I dismissed it, but spending time with her, and like I actually allowed years to go by, because we just were in the same circle. And then I started being around the other women in the sisterhood, and a lot of the women in there were fine, but the woman that was the one that brought, that was trying to bring me into this entire uh, sisterhood was actually the one that was at surface level. And it felt as though it was interesting because the other women were not that way. The other women seemed okay. And then I found that the root of it all really came from that person not knowing, not really taking time for herself and doing her own inner work or healing the traumas of her past, present, and potential future. And seeing the elephant in the room, even though there were very obvious signs of, for example, alcoholism, right? So uh the big picture of what I'm trying to say is you can tell when that person they don't take that time to, or they're not even trying to take the time to really get to know, accept, love themselves. And instead, they're trying to just reflect it outwards. And that inadvertently does cause issues in the end. So the end of the entire story is that these women actually all broke apart and no one really talks to each other anymore. And it's quite sad because this is why we are here talking about this, because it happens more than not.
Yes. Anybody else before we move on? All right, so the next question is, we kind of tapped on it a little bit, but not as deep. So what do you do when you sense the secret competition, sabotage, or fake energy? How do you handle that? Because I have experienced the sabotage, the secret competition, but I did not know how to handle that. I am an empath, so I kind of get in my feelings, and I wouldn't say that well, I guess you can say I was being a little pushover because I don't like confrontation. I'll just pretty much distance myself before I have to be confrontational with somebody in situations like that. I'll just kind of move on. How do y'all handle it?
Sometimes you need clarity though, because if I don't get clarity personally, I I'm a brooder. I will brood on it. I would go to bed and it's in my mind and I can't let it go. And I'm uncomfortable and I can't see why I should be uncomfortable. And so over the years, I've got a lot more confident in who I am. And I'm willing to have a conversation, a difficult conversation. I can have a difficult conversation. I just had one recently because sometimes it's best to let people know that this is what you're doing and this is how it's landing on me. Because sometimes they don't know. Well, sometimes they know and they're doing it on purpose.
It seems like they know.
Sometimes they know. Sometimes they know. But we know the ones who are sometimes acting in a way that they may not know the depth of the impact that it's having, or the depth of the negative impacts that they're having. So I had they're when you say surface level, I think I get it more than I got it when you said it before, because there are folks that are interested in minimal engagement, where their interest is not really connection. It's really, I call it strategic alliance or convenient alliance. So they either need your label, they need your insight, they need your presence, they need your name, your reputation, something that would add value to what they're doing in whatever circumstance. So once they're able to extract that, then they retreat. So in one instance, I'm trying to connect with somebody in a deeper way that had asked me to do a webinar on behalf of their organization. I'm not getting a response. And so sometimes life is lifing. And so I'm thinking, okay, this person, you never know what's going on. She's a woman, she's a mother, there may be things going on that, so you kind of have to treat with it with a little bit of care and compassion. But then I followed up and I'm not good at following up. And I may have abandonment issues, but I'm thinking, if you're not answering me, I'm starting to internalize all of this. I'm like, why is she not answering me? And I reached out again, and I realized that there was not a desire for a deeper connection. It was what they could extract at that time. And so they will maintain that little connection, because just in case I may need it again, I can swoop back in and take from you. So I find that a little bit aggressive. So I like to say, oh, I got a sense that you didn't want to have a real connection with me. And I will say it aloud. And sometimes I'm blunt, but I'm Jamaican. We tend to not know how to do it otherwise. And so I'll say, am I reading this right? I like asking a question. Am I reading this right? I'm getting a sense that and sometimes they give you some bullshit response.
Yes, that's what they do.
And you have to take that, not just silence, because after a while, silence is also a response. But you can also, through your intuition, as Stephanie and Mary have said before, know what the real answer is without having them to admit that or confess it. And you have to just settle that, move on, and decide the kinds of engagement that you want to have as well.
I have a question though. The word you use, the convenient alliance and strategic alliance, does it does it harm and does it harm us? Because I don't care if you just need me because of my name. I have my true friends, the true people to support me. I'm content. So I don't know, maybe it's the way I'm thinking. Like if this person, this lady just wants to use me for her pop-up and she's like I do not mind. I don't know. I guess my question is like, do we need to have a conversation? Does everybody have to support me on a deeper level?
No, absolutely not. And if you come, and if this is your disclaimer, if this is what you come, but don't come as a friend.
Oh, okay. I got you.
Don't come in as a friend. Don't try to create a relationship and pretend that we're going to have this long, deep friendship and this is the beginning of great collaboration together. If you're doing your project and you want me to step into it, and oh, sure, I can step into that. Absolutely. I mean, I'm a political analyst. I'm a media commentator. I'm a professor. I'm a coach. I can offer a lot of value. If you want me to show up for something you're doing, I'm happy to show up. But don't approach me as if it's a friendship, it's a deeper connection, but you really only wanted something from me. And I think that's dishonest.
I got you.
And I like integrity.
A quick question. Dr. Hume, do you let people know, or do they let you know immediately? Like, I'm trying to build a deeper connection or alignment or friendship with you versus just a strictly business relationship, or do you just allow it to gradually and naturally happen on its own?
Oh no, in this particular instance, it was overtly said because I had met this person at a conference and I didn't even remember. I didn't remember them. But then they said, "Oh, I bought your book. Can we jump on a Zoom call?" And it was, to be quite honest, in the moment, a nice, more than a collaboration. It was a sisterhood. You had that sense of it. And so when there was a disappearing act, I was my energy, my intuition, not just my cognition, because intellectually you can read it in ways that can cover over things that you should really accept. Accept what it is and what your spirit is telling you.
Right. Okay. Anybody else experience sabotage or competition or?
Yes, most definitely. As I was saying earlier about the music world, it could even come from an audience member, to be honest. I was at this farmer's market out in a city called Tempe, Arizona, that I absolutely adore. And we've done a lot of building in that city, and it's, always moving and growing. And I was on stage. I hadn't the DJ equipment was set up. I was, already gonna play some music, and in the back I hear a girl, and I believe I know exactly who it was, because as soon as I walked in, I heard little whispers from her, like left and right, and I was just like, I'm noticing something, like, what's going on? Like, And I went to go see who this is, and I'm looking, I don't know who this person is, but clearly they know who I am and they have something to say. So when that happens, I'm just like, I immediately, and this has taken time because when it first started happening, it would make me feel like I need to go into a little ball and like run away, right? But as you grow, you allow yourself, I like to say when you're in the red, you make yourself feel a little bit uncomfortable. It's like those moments when you have to confront somebody about the truth, that feeling, right? So it's kind of like that where I just allowed myself to, first of all, know who I am and stand that ground first. Keep that confidence inside of me and maybe hold my head high a little bit more like, okay, I see what's happening. And then understand the humility part of it, and then the love, because we're humans. So sometimes that little human self wants to come in and be like, you know,
Right.
but you have to control that little tiger and like be like, no, it's okay. And so, you know, you control that. And I'm like, okay, so if it continues, then I might have to say something because, you know, when I'm performing and I'm bringing some music or a catalog to people, it is for love. It is so that I'm planting seeds so that they, I like to say, when you were a kid and those moments of wonderment when you realize, oh, I want to be this when I grow up, I want to do this when I'm able to. Those are the same feelings that I want to help the audience understand. That way, if they've been in the hamster wheel of life, they're already like wondering like, oh, maybe I should get back into that one thing that I really love doing from back in the day that I remembered. I want them to feel that love. So what I've done is in this particular situation, I got up on stage and I just said what needed to be said. I said, hey, everyone, I hope you're all having a great night. Emotion Kaleido. Please, this is a place of love and understanding. So if there's anybody out there who wants to create any animosity in the audience or talk bad about anybody, that's going to stop right now. Because what we're doing is we're creating a safe space for everybody so that we can have a really good time. And I really want us to just rock it out and dance together. So you guys ready to dance? The audience, yeah, let's go. And you can kind of feel like this energy, just like this thing just dissolving. And then now everybody feels more comfortable. And that's what I did in that instance. And to be honest, if I'm in an instance where we're at an event or a club, this is my little secret code to talking to a woman one-on-one. And this is what I say, especially if it's somebody that I don't really know. I say, hey, how are you? The woman says, I'm doing well. I'm like, okay, cool. So, and then I tell them, you know how when there's people who want to talk bad about others and they just want to nitpick at random people just to make themselves feel better, and they're like, they kind of just make a face, and I'm like, well, that is the lowest form of a compliment that you can ever give yourselves, because you know what you're doing is you're picking on people just to make yourself feel better, and that shows how insecure you are. You're literally broadcasting to all your friends and the entire people around you that you're actually insecure. So instead of doing that, you know, because there's wars going on the other side of the world, there's all of this stuff, we need to keep the peace on this side of the world. So what we need to start to do in this community is we need to love ourselves and we need to bring more love to each other. So, you know, the next time anybody wants to feel like doing that, just remember, keep your mouth shut. You don't want to be known as an insecure person. You want to go ahead and remember to love yourself. And how are you going to begin to do that? And I remember doing that at this club out here called Sun Bar, an amazing place. And this girl, she's like, who, me? After I heard she heard everything, and I said, yes, you. And she looked at me and her face changed, and she knew. And everyone's face changes when I say that, because I want to build that safety space around us. So people know if Cecilia is around, let's try to create a safe space for everyone to bring more love to the community. So that's a little bit of what I do sometimes. And it comes from a place of love. I grew up in a home where my dad was very strict. He would sit us down for 3-hour lectures, and they felt like some of the most grueling moments, but it is the times of my life where I've had the most growth. And I feel like sometimes you just need to be a little bit straight up, a little bit stern, but keep that love in the mix for sure.
Yeah, that's
I have
true.
another question, sorry. Because I relate very well with Leilani and wanted to like retract and run. I just want to
Yes,
ask, is that a bad thing though? Because if it helps my peace to just walk
walk
away
away.
and move on.
Yes,
Because I had a situation, I don't know if Leilani remembered,
yes,
and I
I
just
do.
walked away and I've been happy. I had peace, just walk away, block, block, mute,
Yes,
mute, and move on. Is that bad? Is that avoiding
I do it
peace?
a lot.
I think it depends on who you're dealing with.
Mhm.
So if you're dealing with someone where there's a workable situation or there's value
Mm,
inherent in the relationship and there's some kind of resonance with that relationship and you want to, show some effort to work through it, then engaging in nonviolent communication techniques are really good. However, if you are coming up against a narcissist, whatever flavor of the week you've got going on, then it really truly is best to walk away, disengage, and not look back. So I
you
think it
know,
depends on who you're engaged with.
that is so true. You know, Ola, in that situation, those are the type of people that I run into all the time. And I think it's because when you're a nice person, because you're a very nice person too, and you like really like to try to accommodate people, like you
Yeah.
really try to accommodate that.
like a pushover.
Yeah. And so when it's like that, because I'm like that, I really try to work things out and I will try to set up a meeting. Let's talk about it. Let's work it out. Let's figure this out. But
Mm,
everybody don't receive it. You know, they just want to be mean because they know you're nice and they want to
yeah.
just take advantage. And that's what I've experienced. And I
Mhm.
saw it firsthand with you. I'm like, wow, that's what I go through all the time. And I think it's because of just being this nice person. People just look at it as a weakness. Like I can take
Yeah.
advantage of you because you are nice.
Well, my dad told me one time that never change who you are. Do not like, and like it keeps ringing in my head. Like I can't change. I'm just that kind of person.
Me
I don't want
too.
to
Me
change, I
either.
don't want to be not nice.
Me either. It's
But
hard.
it looks like we're weak or we're
Yeah.
pushover, but I'm okay with that. I just walk away. I just walk away. I just run. The first thing I just said to myself is run. There's this.
But that's a strategy as well, because as Stephanie just said, it's dependent on the nature of the relationship and whether it's something that you want to build or something that you can live without. And I think that's a healthy response to move away from situations that's not serving you in the moment. You will know when to have that difficult conversation and whether it's worth it or not. I wouldn't even apologize for running. Run, block, whatever.
Delete
Thank
and
you guys. I feel
follow.
so much better.
Yeah.
Yeah, I
All right.
think for some that level of keeping the peace is completely appropriate because like I was a little bit more like that a really long time ago, just in my younger years. And I guess I've grown as, being somebody in the community. I felt like I've had to almost like put like a strength or like a wall in front of me, but I don't want it to be too high. It's more like a thing of protection. Um, but at the same time, just keeping that openness and also not becoming bitter. So that's one thing I've had to remind myself is like, don't be bitter. You're a sweet girl, like a beautiful woman, like keep going, and I think that's important to state is really choosing where you're going to say something and where you're just going to be like, I'm good, I'm at peace, I'm just going to continue to do what I have to do. And I think that like when I've experienced this in a place of work where I'm really talking to somebody every day who's that way, my best thing is drink a yerba mate because I feel like that plant really helps with the mind and focus and things like that. So I would drink a yerba mate and I would just focus on doing the best work that I could. And even if this person still pushed me down about my work, standing my ground and making good work relationships with the surrounding people and even the people above the person that might be giving me a little bit of problems. But just doing my best and hoping that the company can really notice the hard work that I'm doing. And of course, talking to God really helps. But yeah, definitely keeping the peace is always number one. And I think there are, like you were saying, Dr. Hume, different strategies to doing this for sure. 100%.
I'd
All
like
right.
to go
Oh,
in
okay.
with what Miss Cecilia just said. I was actually going to ask, what's wrong with people being jealous? Like, does it bring any harm? Like, they're just jealous, they're just haters. And what's the problem if someone is sabotaging, my work? That was my thinking. I'd always, been that way. And until recently, what I find is that it eventually escalates. If you give them time enough, it will escalate. Sabotage starts, it comes, actual sabotage comes from a place of envy. They start out as haters, but we don't see it. They start out as being jealous, but we don't see it. And then we finally see it when it's covert, when they take actions that undermine you, when it's now in your face. But you're just seeing that they've been that way all the time. We just didn't see it. And I think that's the catch. And I appreciate, all the tips and the advice in terms of how to protect yourself. Again, it's discernment, when to walk away, when to confront. I would just withdraw. But I think when it's really overt, for example, let's talk about workplace sabotage. Someone is erasing your work. Someone is, or a system is intentionally silencing you, not letting your work come to the surface so you don't get whatever it is, that you should get from that work. Prayer, because we wrestle not. I put that, prayer, discernment, and documentation is your friend. If it's a workplace thing, document. If it's anything, keep a paper trail. Be transparent, One thing I teach the women that I work with is CC yourself on every email, your personal email, not CC, BCC yourself on personal emails, so that if you lose access to that work email for some reason, or the system is down and all that, you have your copies on a personal, and it's legal. It's self-protection, especially if you're doing sensitive work, or if you are in a sensitive position, and I come back to it. Prayer is key, because sometimes walking away, when people, I think, okay, I'll backpedal a bit. For a lot of us who are empaths and who see the world through the good we bring, we don't realize that not everybody is like that. In fact, we are probably in the minority. Most people would take advantage of anybody, and it's hard. I still struggle with acknowledging the fact that people don't always mean well, even when they do things that seem kind and seem nice. It just feels like a lot of effort to me to be that way in public and then be another way in private. And for me, that's where prayer has helped open my eyes, just give me that place to discern what's really happening. And for me, I will withdraw, like literally, and I have no apologies. My peace it's not worth it. But there are times, especially when your livelihood is threatened, your business is threatened, you need to take action. And that brings me to seeking professional support. I'm not sure what that looks like, but find some way, somehow, start somewhere and talk to someone, and maybe they can lead you to, the person who will eventually help. But always, take action, especially when it's workplace sabotage. And that's my 2 yen.
Okay. We have 2 questions left, and we're running out of time, so I'll go ahead and move on to the next question. Why is integrity more important than image in building a legacy? Who wants to take on that question?
I'll take on that because that's part of my work. That's the center of it. When I began my career in broadcast, I didn't think that I needed a personal brand because I thought, well, I'm on the radio, I'm on the TV. That's the kind of visibility that people are looking for. Until I started to really look at what building a solid personal brand really is about. And I was working at the time with really, really iconic reggae artists. And I was working on his image because I assumed at the time that they are the ones who are selling music. They need a brand. I didn't. And when I was working with politicians, I felt that they're looking votes and I'm working with them to get people to vote for them. I didn't need it, they needed it. So I was more focusing on a sort of image, which was very superficial. But then as I started to get to know them, and if I'm writing a speech for a politician, I recognized that I needed to know what their values are. What do you believe in? Who are you as a person? How do you want people to vote for you if we don't know who you are and whether they can trust you or not? Same with the entertainer. I'm writing a biography for an artist. At the time, I had to ask them a whole bunch of questions. Why are you? Why are you singing this song? What does it mean? What kind of message? What do you want to convey to these folks? And then it became a deeper process, and that's when I realized that branding is actually such a vulgar, dehumanizing word because everybody think about it as a product and you just need to market that product and not about the self. Whereas fundamentally, your values is so central to who you are as a person. And then it shows up. Everything we talk about in terms of people's behavior, it is a reflection of what their core values are. It's a reflection of who they are, which is showing up in how they interact with others, how they treat other people, how they choose to engage or not engage, how they show up in the world, how they lead, how you do business, all of that. Everything starts from a centrality of the self. So your personal integrity is going to be so, so important to the kinds of connections that, for example, Ola wants to make with influential others. At the end of the day, you may find them a successful person, but their values don't align with you or who you are, and you're going to have to decide, am I going to compromise my own values just to get this business ahead, or am I going to just, okay, I have to draw the line here because I need you, I need people like you, but we have a dissonance in terms of what our values are. So integrity is central. It's core to everything. It's core to our humanness, and it's core to how we are. Therefore, it should show up in every other aspect of our life in terms of how we lead, how we do business, how we interact, how we perform, whatever it is.
That's true. Anybody else?
So well said. It's like, what do we say after that?
That's so true. I mean, 'cause
No,
that's
I
everything.
know. No, but so beautifully said because
Right.
just a very quick example. I had a publicist for a bit, and this person has a pretty good image in terms of being a publicist, but at the same time, the integrity was not there, right? Especially for me when it came to my work. This person's line of work as a PR didn't match me in terms of, author, spiritual, yoga, meditation. Theirs was more of like mainstream media, celebrities and that. So, and that's not really who I don't want to be the next, I don't know, Mariah Carey, right? But maybe I might want to be a Mel Robbins. Maybe not her either, but there's a big difference, right? And it's okay because the challenge should come from this publicist to just say, this is what I still want to work with you and I'm going to try, and if I'm not doing well, or if I need to pivot, or if I need to learn new things, and maybe that's what I'll do. And I found that as a core person, I realized that this person, and it had nothing to do with physically. I learned this because of working with her, which is why we don't work together anymore. Just as a core person, she couldn't figure out she couldn't keep um the integrity piece. She couldn't, really just stand up and do what she needed to do for even the other regular celebrity PRs that she deals with. And in finding that integrity of just not, you know, picking up a piece of paper, I'm just making it up, but picking up a piece of paper and making a flyer or getting the event or coordinating something or all of these pieces, she would sub divvy them out, and she started having people in random places help her, but it wasn't it lowers her integrity because she didn't understand that her image relied on that work, right? So she's too busy dishing things out and not really seeing the lack of integrity in the work that's being given back. So the especially for me, I noticed that my image of her changed because I saw the way that she treated the integrity of how she did business as a person. And that was tough because I was like, wow, I didn't really like it's almost like it's like that surface, right? Versus deep level. I looked and then I look this and I'm looking deeper and I open the door and walk into her world and I was like, wow, I can't do business with this person. I can't have her as a PR. So yeah.
I think that you pointed out the really important difference between the world of images and what we see and the world of what is real. Integrity is the flame that burns when nobody sees. An image is cast through falsities, doesn't necessarily have to be true, and it's contingent upon somebody's perception. And generally, we see things in the outside world as a reflection of who we are. So I think from an energetic standpoint, integrity is important because that is what is true and what is real and what is lasting. And if we understand the importance of living from that place of integrity, we will naturally draw those other people into resonant relationships with ourselves. And the others will just naturally drop away.
True.
I love that, how you explain that, and that is very beautiful. The analogy that I would like to present that is one that I like to give to my friends and colleagues is imagine you are creating a tapestry, a pure white tapestry out of the most beautiful threads. And what you do on one end at the beginning of the tapestry before it begins to knit together or be created is you pour a drop of red dye on that one strand. And as the tapestry is being created, it's just one drop. That's it. It's just one drop of red. Like, how is anyone going to notice? But the thing is that when you're done creating that tapestry, there's still going to be red on that thread on the other end. So even if we think that the smallest drop of not being integral in our business isn't going to be shown at the end, then we are very much mistaken. We must create that integrity from the very beginning so that when our work is done, that it will always be there no matter what.
That's true. All right. Anybody else have anything to say before we move on to the last question? Okay. So how do we protect our energy in a world full of polished yet problematic people? Because I know it's hard to protect our energy, especially when you're an empath. So
I was excited about this question. I'm like, I can't wait to find out how I can avoid
me
people
too.
like
Who has the answer?
But why
I
is
think I
it
might have the answer
avoidance?
for it.
I don't agree with avoidance. I'm sorry.
Okay.
Maybe Stephanie should take this one because
Oh.
I'm not a psychologist, but I have a challenge
Okay.
with avoidance. I think in this age, and I teach college students, and they're at that age where everybody wants to protect their peace, and nobody wants to have a difficult conversation. And I believe that everybody has to develop capacity, that adaptive capacity, I prefer to call it, where you're adaptable, where you're able to handle big emotions, whether it's positive or negative. You're not enduring it. You can handle it, and you can communicate. And I teach communication, but I don't teach interpersonal communication, so maybe I have a lot to learn as well. But I think we concluded that we can measure and decide when to engage and when not to engage. So, Ola, I agree with you. There are times that you have to block and you have to run. But there are occasions when there's a difficult conversation to be had. And protecting your peace means you go through it. I hate the word confront, but you face it and you gently, with compassion. I am not there yet because a former boss of mine, when I was just raging against somebody who was just being, ugh, and I was very upset with the person, said, "How this is what she's doing to me?" Da, 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 da. And he said, "Oh, you should treat people with compassion, even the ones who are least deserving." I hated him for it because it was good advice. I didn't know how to do it. I don't know if I feel compassion for them yet because I'm not there, but I am willing to hear you out. I am willing to face it, especially if we decided that this is going to be an important relationship.
Mm.
And there are important relationships in our life that if we set up boundaries all the time and just do this and step back and avoid, we're going to lose more relationships than is useful
True.
to us. And there was my best friend who were into 27 years of friendship. There are so many occasions when we could have said the relationship has run its course. We almost did at one point, just let it go. But we both thought at different levels that it's still important to come back and talk about it. And when emotions are high, you just want to avoid. But I think if you give space, a little bit of room, give people the time for the emotions to settle down, and you can come to the conversation or from a place of empathy, hearing them out, even if you don't agree. Because for me, intelligence is being able to hear a different perspective, even while you don't agree with it. And you
Mm-hmm.
come to some sort of arrangement that the relationship may not be the same. And you may not do it immediately. Sometimes there is so much water under the bridge that you have to allow that water. It's so contaminated, you have to allow it to run out. And then at some point, we can come to the table and we can have a conversation. It doesn't mean you're going to have to be best friends or business partners, whatever it is. After that, the relationship may change, but it allows you to settle in your spirit, to me, in a way that you can live with it. So you're wishing them well. You are still doing you, growing as you should. And I think that's a healthy position to take.
I
I,
guess I guess I'm very blessed to have people around me. I have a lot of love and I grew up with love, thank God. Maybe I need to I guess I'm one question that comes to my mind when you're saying this, like I agree, but I don't really care that much for people like what's the ROI in talking to like you don't add any value to my life. You don't
Right.
there's no like there's no
Okay.
ROI. I still can't see the benefit of talking to you. I
Yep.
have a lot of love from my friends and family. I have big friends. I have a lot, so like that's I think that's where I'm having problems. Like
but remember,
I don't have to care enough.
I am so sorry to talk over
No,
you,
no, you're okay.
Ola.
You're okay. I'm sorry. Sorry. Yeah.
Uh, remember, we started this conversation by saying that we have to decide when it's important to have that
Okay.
conversation and when we have to recognize that is Stephanie the right word? Dissonance? You said something similar earlier, when you can separate. And we
Mm.
decided that there are some interactions that it's necessary to have that conversation. I'm saying everything doesn't have to be protect my peace, set up these boundaries. We would
Hmm.
never learn, especially for leaders that I work with. If they're going to avoid every difficult conversation with a team member, then they won't have anybody to lead.
Hmm.
So,
True.
so I'm thinking it may be situational as well. But I think that we have to decide which is worth it and which is not. So maybe Ola, for you there, you have other. We have to create new circles. That's what I believe. We have to create new circles. And if you have found your people and your circle and you're good with those people, then great. But there are occasions, it may be a team member that you're working with, or somebody that you have employed that you're having a challenge with, that you can't just avoid or just fire them or just run away.
People like us don't know how to fire, by the way.
So maybe that's a different conversation. So these are also interpersonal stuff that we all can learn how to do. And I think that if we develop the capacity rather than avoidance.
I think you answered my question in terms of like, what's the ROI? The ROI is you have to build your circle. You're trying to increase your circle. So don't kill the relationship before you even start.
Don't burn all the bridges.
I understand.
Especially if it has some type of value to it.
I think that one great way to protect your energy in a world full of polished but problematic people is planting seeds. Planting seeds of integrity. These planting of seeds can happen simply by just being you, just being your beautiful selves. And the reason I say that is because I've had experiences where I knew there was animosity towards me from somebody. And I just was myself. And by the end of the year or the end of whatever time frame it was to start a new cycle, I had the people come up to me and literally say, you know what, Cecilia, at first I just didn't like you, or whatever it was that they had a problem. And they said, but by working with you and seeing what kind of person you are, I just want to say that I'm sorry, and I really, really do appreciate this friendship.
That's sweet.
And that's something that I think that's why it's important for us to just carry that confidence, because a lot of people, they come from so many different backgrounds, and and a lot of individuals this day and age are still struggling with how to work through their traumas, how to work through their experiences. And everyone just wants to do their best for the most part, right? So if we can be like a pillar in our community and continue to be ourselves, carry that confidence, and bring that love, maybe there are some sparks that we can light up and to bring more color into their world. And maybe we can touch their hand, and then all of a sudden their body is now illuminated in their life. And it's a slow process. It doesn't happen overnight. But I think the most important thing is for us to just continue to be the strong women and also the men in the world that there are, and bring in the love and the peace, and the hard work that we know we must do, because I believe we're all here for a mission, and our missions are very different than the next person. But when you have that knowing in your heart of the work that you need to do, and you move that forward, you're aligning with yourself, mind, body, and soul, 100%.
Another way of putting that I like to always try to remember is that we each have a song. There's an African proverb that goes something along those lines. Like each one of us has our own song. And when we meet other people, not everybody's music is going to coalesce with ours, and that's okay. Sometimes there's music in their field that's flat or sharp, and as it attunes, they will become more resonant with us. But the point is to remain true to your song and to know your song and to enjoy the music of it, the musicality of your soul. And it's a real simple way of thinking about who we get along with, who we don't, friendships that come, friendships that go, friendships that morph and they grow or they disappear. If we think about it in terms of musicality, it takes the personal out of it a little bit more, that we can see it a little bit more objectively, and it is helpful.
Okay. Monica, I remember you said you had something to say on that particular topic about
Protecting your energy?
yes, protecting your energy.
Okay, so I was bringing up that as I'm listening to everyone, I won't say I'm not an empath, but I guess I could say I'm a recovering empath. I for a long time was very, very nice to people and everything. And my grandmother, before she passed away, talked to me a lot about standing your ground and just watching people and things like that. And when Dr. Hume was bringing up things, I'm like, oh yeah, my grandmother is, she's a Jamaican woman, but she had this very strong personality about her that said, don't have expectations of people. And I find a lot of times when we are in business as women, a lot of times we will have an expectation of sisterhood, or we'll have an expectation of this person has good intentions as much as I do. And she was the one who taught me that while you can be nice, while you can have the best intentions, don't automatically believe that or assume that about others. And that's not about being negative. It's just learning that you have to allow yourself to observe people before stamping on, like, this person's wonderful, this person's amazing, this person is nice, and I need to get to know them. Because the big part about protecting your energy is like, well, hold on, maybe not so much. And especially if you're an empath, you can intake that energy into yourself, and it can sometimes jade you and cause you to not look at people with the most positive viewpoint. So I look at people overall as these are good people, unless you prove me wrong. But at the same time, I also understand that if someone comes to me with shade, I have no problem hurting their feelings. And I don't know how else nicely to say that. So I'm like, okay, just, I don't immediately respond or immediately react, because I know how I can be at times if I allow their energy to come back to me. So my grandmother, like I said, I was nice a lot, but sometimes, like, I don't approach people with like a bad personality, but if you bring it, I can return it. And I'm like, oh, let me make sure. Sorry, but let me just make sure that I gauge what's happening here. Because if I see that someone is trying to approach a situation with, arrogance or rudeness, my first inclination is I'm going to respond with the same. And I'm like, wait a second, don't do that. Let's try to be, nice here. So, one of the other questions that we had, like, I always want to make sure that I don't always just jump into something. I create. So a lot of times what I'll do is I don't talk to someone else about the situation. But I will go and usually do like a voice note to myself. I might go talk to like one of my closest friends, like, am I being crazy here? Or are they really, is this really a problem? But like I said, I show up on social media, things like that. And a lot of times I like to offer lessons. I often try to say, like, okay, this is a situation that happened to me. This is what it seemed like was going on before. So let me find a way that I can teach others, maybe if they come across the same situation, or if they feel like someone is wronging them, how they can handle it. Because I don't want that sort of a lesson to be lost, but I really just want to allow it to be a lesson that I can teach others. Because maybe the shade that I thought I was seeing wasn't actually shade. Maybe the lack of support or lack of sisterhood maybe I wasn't interpreting it right. It could have been a reflection on my own energy. Maybe it was off. Maybe I said something, like I said, not to hop on the Jamaican thing again, but sometimes my face doesn't look the nicest all the time, And so someone could be trying to approach me or something, and they're like, oh, never mind, I don't
Yeah,
know. And
true.
so it could have really been my energy that they felt or thought they felt. And so I have to keep all of those things in mind when I'm communicating with people. But the main way that I protect my energy is I don't try to assume immediately. I also don't have expectations. And then I try to transmute that energy, if I feel it is negative, into something positive that can not only help me, but help others along the way.
I love that. Okay, that was a great message. Um, I don't want to pronounce this wrong. Natrosha, that's it, right? Okay.
Yes.
Did you have any comments before we get out of here?
Yes, on that last question on how to protect your energy in a full of polished and problematic people. Many people, you all spoke on it in regards to protecting your energy. Protecting your image to me starts with being okay with not being accessible to everyone. Just because someone is influential, right, doesn't mean they're safe. They're a safe place, right? So prioritize your peace over prosperity, but also don't chase the connections. I see that a lot on social media, people chasing numbers, the followers.
Mm.
But understanding that you're nurturing, like you say, you want to understand the nurturing of alignment, right? Understanding who you are. And that goes back to maybe that third question in regards to focus on how you serve and not how you're seen, but fame fades, but fruits remains, right? So it's all about your character, who you are. And oftentimes when a person show up on social media with that, like you said, protecting your energy, but also understanding who they are, it doesn't reflect on what's going on the inside. I think for me, a tip would be, as someone mentioned, is pray, right? I think for me, I pray before I partner with anyone, in business and friendships, in workplaces, and also having 20 plus years working in corporate in the human resources professional. I've seen it all in that in the workplace, but also as an entrepreneur in the business space as well. So you have to, like you said, number one, I pray. I pray before I partner, but also two, I pause before I pursue because it's important to just sometimes just stay still and like you said, really just get clarity in what's gathering around you. So I just like to stay still in some situations and allow God to give me that clarity. And also, last but not least, is I like to guard my peace. I guard my peace because it's a part of my purpose. And I think that's very important because it truly is, right? And so I think in order to pursue, and you're also guarding is to understanding again is that you're protecting your energy, but at the same time, you're understanding who you are and of course seeking God first. But yeah, that's pretty much it.
Okay, thank you for that comment. So before we close out, does anyone have any more encouraging words or a message they'd like to leave to women listening, especially for those just getting started in business or leadership?
I just wanted to summarize because I came here to learn. I didn't have any knowledge. I just want to summarize maybe what my takeaway and if I'm right or wrong. So the takeaway that I'm getting is that there's a time to talk and there's a time to pull away. And don't be too quick to pull away because sometimes that relationship is worth it, So, because I'm always like, no at the beginning. And like you said, and Natrosha, like God first. And I think that's a profound epiphany that I've had now, thanks to this conversation. And I really, really wanted to appreciate Leilani for this because I know like from afar we're just like supporting each other, but this is deep. This is amazing and thank you so much
You're
for
welcome.
not stopping. And I'm so sorry that you attract those kind of people. When you
I
said it, I
do.
felt it to the core, and hopefully we keep this conversation going and
Yeah,
find a way to work around it.
I know.
I want to add something as well that I think that we also have to be self-reflective, because this conversation has been a lot about what has happened to us and how we view other people. I think we also have to take a little time to be self-reflective and be mindful that we have to ground ourselves as well. Are we question whether we're being grounded? Are we also showing up for people in the way that they or the way that we would want people to show up for us? Are we showing up for them as well? Or are we just looking to see whether they're doing it? I think that sometimes we have to come back to the drawing table and our self is the first point of contact, because if we don't self-reflect, we are going to engage in ways that are not helpful to other people. And they may have those perceptions as well that we don't know that they're having. So a little bit of self-reflection maybe go a long way.
Most
And
definitely.
it was just lovely meeting everybody. I thought this was a really grounded and beneficial conversation. So thank you guys for your input.
Most definitely. It's a pleasure talking to all of you women, and thank you, Leilani, for this.
You're
It's
so welcome.
so encouraging to meet such wonderful women. All of you are doing some incredible work on your side of the world, and this is what life is all about. And these connections, you know, it's a beautiful network that we can continue together. So I'm very thankful for this experience.
Yes. All right, ladies, you would like to one by one share your contact information, social media handles of how viewers are, even the ladies in this roundtable discussion would like to connect with each other. You can go ahead and share your information. I guess we can start with at the beginning, Dr. Hume.
My name is odd and it's weird, but it's Hume, Hume. My mother was trying to destroy my self-esteem. So I am on social media and I'm Dr. Hume Johnson everywhere. DrHumeJohnson.
All right, Dr. Stephanie.
I'm the same. I am Dr. Stephanie Bennett, pretty much everywhere, but my name is spelled with an F, not a PH. So Steph with an F. And then I also have a spiritual blog that is called Hagiographia at Substack. And then I also have a new brand called theinnerthrone.com.
All right, Natrosha.
Yes. I am social Natrosha, Natrosha, and I'm on all of the social media, well, majority of the social media platforms. You can find me there. Thank you.
All right, Cecilia.
Hi, I'm Cecilia Satori on all social media, X, Instagram, Facebook. And then I'm building my little DJ page, Ocean Kaleido, like kaleidoscope. Or I'm vegan, so if you want to think about it this way, Ocean Kale I Do. Kale. But anyway, much love. Thank you.
Okay, Dr. Flo.
Yes, I'm pretty much Dr. Flo everywhere. LinkedIn. My website is drflowsplace.org. And my focus is working with women who've survived toxic life experiences, so domestic violence, parental alienation, and pretty much Dr. Flo's place or Dr. Flo everywhere.
All right.
And I must say again, thank you, Ms. Leilani, for this.
So welcome.
Thank you so much. Thank you.
All right, Mary.
Miss Leilani, thank you so much. So Mary Love, you can find me, so spiritualatlas.com, and it is as spelled, so spiritual atlas like the world. Spiritualatlas.com has where you can buy my book, my Borrowed Wings book, also Torchbearer Chronicles, this is my other book. And then it has all my social handles. I'm on X, I'm on definitely on Threads, that's where I met you, Leilani. I'm on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, of course. And then just a reminder, I teach yoga, I do guided meditation courses and workshops, and I also do a lot of speaking and advocacy and things such as this roundtable for anything related to trauma, abuse, healing, and spiritual work. So thank you.
All right, Ola.
I am Ola Gwa at on Instagram. Don't have a website. We're starting. I'm actually working on it because this is all new. But my company is Snooze Lane, the Snooze Lane, on Instagram and everywhere else. And I'm very active on Instagram, so it's just OLAGIWA.
All right, and Monica.
Okay, so I am Monica Rowe official on all platforms, and I am Elevate Your Empire on TikTok. Yeah, that's it.
All right, and of course, I am Leilani. Don't forget to tune into the Boss Woman Network. and you can check out all the episodes and interviews. All right, so I want to thank every single woman here today for showing up with honesty and authenticity. These are the conversations that push us forward as women, as leaders, as whole human beings. Beauty fades, but integrity lasts. So stay tuned for the replay link and stay connected with the Boss Women Network. And until next time, bye, ladies.
Bye.
Thanks, everybody.
Thank you again.
Bye, thank you.